I bought this crash damaged Mercedes E63s from a salvage auction with serious damage to the front, back and the roof. The body damage is one thing, but the big question is, why doesn't it start? We tried everything, removed damaged parts, checked if the engine spins, which it did. Disconnected the tracker and the ghost immobiliser, the car wouldn't start and the speedometer wouldn't light up. In the footwell we found quite a few connectors with watermarks, so we cleaned them up, tested them and the speedometer started working. We checked every fuse box, we cleared the crash data and the car still wouldn't start. We removed the seats and carpets and we found a puddle of water sat next to the wiring loom. We received a lot of comments in the last video stating the pyro fuse is what's causing the issue. So we called up Mercedes to find out if the car does have a pyro. They told us that the car doesn't. Instead, the modules actually store the crash data after a crash, and that's what stops the car from starting. Behind the damaged quarter panel, we found a number of modules. Each module has a specific job. If a module is damaged, it can cause issues elsewhere. We started to Google the part numbers of the modules to see what specific role each module played. We then came across a module that played a vital role in getting this car started.
So whilst we were working around the car, around this region here, we didn't really check these two modules here. So we got an ignition control module and an engine control module. So once you press that start button, this will receive the signal and send a signal to the ECU, and that will activate the starter motor and the fuel pump. So we need to remove this control module here as well as this one here.
Removing the ignition control module wasn't difficult at all. We simply unplugged the module. It wasn't really held in place by anything. Using a 10mm socket, we unbolted then unplugged the engine control module. To open the module, we removed the screw under the label. We then tried to pry the case and we realised there was a sticker holding it together on the edge. So we cut this sticker and we pried the case open.
So we've opened up the ignition control module, guys, and check here. You can see that this chip right here is completely fried. I mean, there's all watermarks going along this area right here, and this EEPROM right here is also corroded. So what we'll do is we'll clean it all up and hopefully you could actually save it. I mean, it actually looks like this is fried, so we're not too sure. I mean, these are actually coded to the car, so you can't just buy another one second hand and just fit it. So we'll actually try to save it.
Using an electrical cleaner, we sprayed the module. We gently scrubbed it down using a brush. We repeated the process until we couldn't see any imperfections. We did this to both sides of the module. While cleaning the module under the magnifying glass, we found the EEPROM chip had a broken leg, so we tried to solder the leg. This leg is what connects the board to the chip, and without the leg, the chip will not work properly. After soldering the broken leg, we then put the module back together. Opening the engine control module was just a matter of pushing the two tabs in. Once opened, we couldn't see any damage. Everything seemed to be fine, but it wasn't surprising as this module did have a red seal around it, and that stops the water from entering, unlike the ignition control module. We then plugged both modules back in. The ignition control module could be what's causing us all sorts of issues. Rainwater has gotten into this car, and you saw how much water we had under the carpet, so having a module that controls the ignition in the footwell isn't the ideal location, as low levels of water can easily enter the module. Now it was time to see if the repair work on our module had fixed the issue. The car still wouldn't start, so after running a diagnostic scan, we realised the ignition module is still faulty.
So we fitted up that unit, guys, after repairing it, and guess what? It's still not working. One of the legs on the EEPROM is not actually sitting right. So yeah, that failed. So we phoned up the dealers and asked them if you could actually purchase it and code it in, and they said, look, it's a Germany order and you could buy it, but you can't actually take it away. It's one of them units you need to get programmed by Mercedes. I mean, the car, the state that the car's actually in, we can't really take it there. So we have found someone online who would actually try to sort it out, so we'll send it off and see how it goes.
If we can get this repaired successfully, it will save us hundreds of pounds.
So we're back, guys. We've just come back from the guy who actually repairs, you know, control modules and stuff like that. He does a bit of electronics on laptops. So we're getting the control module. He had to look at it and he found a few faults on it. One of the resistors were burnt out and the tracks were a bit off. I mean, the legs for the EPROMs were actually touching against the track. So yeah, so he's repaired it all. Took him about an hour to do. Yeah, I mean, he charges 30 quid, guys. So the dealers are quoting us about £400 just for that control module. From there, they wouldn't give us over the counter, and obviously you'll have to take the car there, and they would have charged another £200-300 just to code it in. So let's give it a try and see if it actually works, guys. So just connected up that control module and also put another battery in that's charged up. I mean, it's not the right battery for the car, but it's charged up. I mean, this battery is completely flat. So later on, we'll be replacing it for the original battery. Also, guys, another thing I want to tell you guys is that the ABS sensor was actually broken, so we replaced it with another one. I mean, that alone, just one sensor was throwing a lot of fault codes up in different control modules. I mean, we're waiting for a friend to come over. He's got another diagnostics machine, so we're going to give that a try and clear everything, and hopefully he could fire it up.
Using our friend's diagnostics machine, we cleared the codes. We ran under the scan to see if the codes come up again. The ignition control module was no longer showing up with the code, which was a good sign, as this shows that the repair work to the module was done correctly.
So, moment of truth, guys, everything's all connected. We got the booster on, ignition control modules in, crash data has been cleared again on a different machine as well. So yeah, hopefully you could fire this beast up.
We have done everything we can, and it was all down to this moment. It's been an absolute roller coaster of a journey, but hitting that V8 made it worth the struggle.
So there we have it, guys. We fired up the car, everything's all working, engine's turning over, cranking, so that's all good. That's one of the main things that we wanted to do, make sure the engine's all good before we start working on it. I mean, we come a long way from what the car was to what it is now. I mean, in terms of getting it running, there were quite a few modules that needed changing. We got a few modules that were damaged, wiring, water damage and stuff. So, I mean, we come a long way, car's all good. I mean, engine-wise, it makes a bit of a funny sound. That's because the inlet manifold is quite damaged. On top of that, the oil is still circulating around the engine. So yeah, we can't really have it running for long. I mean, there's no water cooler on there or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, we've come a long way, so we're good to go now to carry on with the project.
Our journey has just begun on this project. If you guys want to tag along for the ride, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. And we will see you guys on the next video.